Welcome to the Today Show Toronto. I'm your host, Jay Stoyan. We're down here, Artscape Toronto. Wonderful show today. We're really excited as we've added 2 more days to our mayor candidate interview days. Today we're very excited. So we have in the studio today, we have Anna Bailao. Anna, thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Really nice being here.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Bailao. Anna Bailao.
There you go. Anna Bailao. There you go. So we're really excited.
Do you know what it means, Bailao?
I do not.
It comes from the word dancing in Portuguese, because I'm from
Portuguese.
Portugal.
Wow.
Yeah, it comes from the word dancing.
Well,
so people around me are always happy.
You guys have such a rich tradition, like Portuguese people. They're so down to earth, salt of the earth, just very nice, hardworking people, honest people. I know that because
You're truly describing me. There you
go.
go.
Well, I have a long relationship with the Portuguese community. I love them. The food's great. The people are great. But I really love it because they are such hardworking, honest people.
Yeah.
You know, they wear their heart on their sleeve. So here we go. We have a Portuguese girl running for mayor.
The beauty of a city like Toronto is that, you know, there's people coming from all over the world. And we learn about their culture, their heritage, and that's Toronto, right?
It is.
You know, some people are born here, but they still have that heritage, and we just keep learning from each other, and we discover the world within our city.
And they're pretty good soccer players.
The Portuguese are.
They're pretty good soccer players.
There's Ronaldo, right?
Yeah, so. I mean, he's been around for 20 years. I think he's almost at the end of his rope now, but what a soccer player.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I love that Portugal is so integral in the World Cup, and like, they're just such a powerhouse. You need powerhouses like that, right? You need it. Like, and the country's beautiful from Lisbon to the Azores. It's a wonderful country. So I really want to thank you for coming on today. We should talk about what's going on in Toronto. What do you think? So
again, that's our city.
We're here with mayor candidate. We're here with Anna
Bailao.
There you go. So let's talk about, now it's been going on for a month and a half now, April 3rd. So normally what I do is I like to ask the candidates, you know, your inspiration, your credentials, and we'll get to that, but let's talk about how's it going? Like, what's the current status? Like, what's going on today?
Well, as we were talking about, April 3rd was the date that people started registering. So, you know, a month and a half that people have been going at it. I registered the first day. I had made my decision. I was there, first one, putting the papers in, and started campaigning and making sure that I was listening from people and bringing my message about fixing services, about building housing, about making life easier and more affordable for people in Toronto. So we've been doing a lot of town halls, knocking on doors, subway stations. Yesterday I was at a subway station, you know, and all this to make sure that people are aware of the election, are aware of the experience that I bring to the table, the leadership that I bring to the table, and about the plan.
I noticed that yesterday on one of another network. I noticed it was really good because they gave time to, I believe, maybe 5 or 6 candidates about what their philosophy is, what their vision is. So tell me, like, I see your name in the paper a lot. I see Mark Saunders in there a lot for not the good reasons. He seems not to go to he declines all the time. He hasn't responded to us.
Yeah, oh, well.
He hasn't responded.
Yeah, he wasn't at the debate Monday as well.
Mark, if you don't respond to us, the disability community, along with the veterans, we don't know your vision. So same with Olivia Chow, never responded to us. Brad Bradford, never responded to us. So if these guys don't respond to us, we can't support you, right? Plain and simple, guys. We matter too.
Absolutely.
Right? We matter
absolutely.
too.
And that's why I'm here. I wanted to have
and
this
I really
conversation
appreciate it. So let's
with
get
your
to
viewers.
For our viewers, what off the top of your head, the 3 top policies that you're focused on?
Services, city services,
okay.
Core city services like the TTC. You know, safety and reliability and making it safe for the TTC, really important. Housing, important that we are able to live in the city, that our youth is able to see a future in the city, afford to live in the city, not have to pay 70-80% of their income in rent, being able to buy a home. That is really important. And so we need the city to be an active participant, and I have a plan for that. Making sure we tackle our budget. We have a big hole still in a city budget, And the way we need to be making sure that we're doing that, because that's how we're going to make life easier and more affordable.
So services,
Some candidates, all they talk about is raising taxes, raising taxes. Well, we need to make sure that we have a solution that keeps in mind that people are struggling with an affordability crisis.
So let's go through those three steps. So services, I think the services in Toronto are still pretty good. They can always be better, right? They can always be better, but it's one of the major cities in North America. So I think the services are pretty good, but they are constantly being taxed, and I mean like the resources, right? So we need to improve that. The housing situation is out of control. And here's an example. When I bought my first house back in 92, I paid $190 loaded up. It was loaded up with marble, hardwood, $190. I could afford that. That same house today is $1.5 million. How can a 20-year-old who just graduated, who has probably, debt, how could they afford to move out of their family's home? What do you plan to do?
Yeah. I'm listening to your story, and I'm thinking when I came to Canada when I was 15 from Portugal. And my parents had already been here a couple years before just to get things ready for my sister and I. And then we came, and I think it was within a couple years, they were able to buy a house. It's unheard of for a family to arrive here, for a youth that, like you said, that it's, in their 20s, finishing their degree, and think that they're gonna buy a home. Even some of them tell me they can't even think about moving out because they can't even afford $2,000-$3,000 a month of rent.
Well, the down payment too, right?
Yeah. So this is an issue, and for the reason why I'm so focused on this issue is because I really feel like it goes to the soul of our city. When you start losing like the workers, when you start losing the youth, you lose the soul of the city. And so we need to do everything to make sure that housing is getting built in our city.
But you can't blame the developers because they're business people and they're in it to make money like everybody else. So you have to devise a plan where it's kind of fair. And let me add to what you're saying, and then you can jump back in. Just to add on how bad it is, I have two older brothers. They were both out of the house at 16, continued to go to school, so they say, and worked. Lived on their own, went to school, and worked. Yeah. That's unheard of. And then our generation looked back at my brother's generation and say, oh my God, it's so tough for us. Some people couldn't afford to buy a house in 90s, but today no one can.
Yeah. So one of the things that we need to do for sure is build more supply, more housing. We haven't been building enough. The population has been growing more than the housing that we've been building. So we need to build more. So my plan will build 285,000 units, which is what the province told us to build, 285,000. But I'm also committing to build out of those 57,000 as purpose-built rental. Because that's the problem with the rental as well. We haven't built rental the way that we used to. Back in the 60s and the 70s, 40% of all the buildings that were getting done were purpose-built rental. You know what it is today? 6-7%?
I know.
Vacancy rate is less than 1%. We need to build more rental. So that is really important. So the city making sure that we have the processes that are faster, the regulations to make it easier, that is really important. But also, so that we don't have just, 80-story buildings and single-family homes, really important that we...
Continuity, right?
That we call it the missing middle, right?
Go.
That middle, that the 6 stories, the 8 stories, the multiplexes, which is like 3-4 apartments in a home, right? How do we make that more available for people? How do we make sure that we're incentivizing that to get out there? Because that creates opportunity for people to live.
And this is where accessibility comes into it, right? Accessibility is so important, not just for our community, but for seniors, for children, for everybody in general. So the channel here, that's part of our program, is teaching accessibility updates and what's going on. And I would love to lend a hand when you win, because we have experts who know all about accessibility because they live it.
Yeah.
It's very hard for somebody to devise an accessibility plan if they never really need to use it.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm so looking forward to working with the community.
Right? So,
as well. But you know, one thing that I worked in the past where I heard a lot from the community on how important it is was laneway housing. Let me tell you why. Because people can still have their independence. They have a unit, but they're close to family members that they can support each other. So that was a change that we did, and I led that change at City Hall a few years ago to make sure that people are able to build laneway housing. And that you can have your family living in the house or in 1 or 2 apartments and have a family member living in a laneway housing with their independence, but still close enough to family members that can have some of the supports that family can do. And obviously, it's not cheap, but it is much more affordable than buying a condo.
100%. Yeah. I agree. Now let's move on to what's very important to every household is the budget. How do you plan to tackle the budget? Because it just seems like the regular 9-to-5ers, right? We play by the rules. We have to have a budget, otherwise we won't have a place to live or go to work. Now, when we look at our leaders, they don't seem to play by the same rules, or they're very loose with our cash. So how do you plan to fix that?
Well, we need to be responsible with people's cash. That is the first thing,
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, people are having a hard time, like I said, with affordability. We need to make sure the city is delivering what the people are paying for. And what I keep hearing now is that people feel, oh my God, we're paying more and we're getting less. So let's make sure, first and foremost, we fix the services so the people see the value in those that we're giving them. But we have a big pressure because of the pandemic, right? So the TTC, because the ridership tanked, literally, right? It creates almost $500 million of a pressure in our budget. We have other things like the shelters that are creating a lot of pressure. It's now $1.5 billion.
And it just keeps on going up.
So as soon as I announced my campaign, I put a solution on the table because the province and the feds, they've been coming with checks at the end of the year, but that's no way to run a city, right? We need predictable funding. We know that we're having some challenge, we have predictable funding. So I put the solution that the province needs to come and take responsibility over the garden and the DVP. You know, these used to be provincial highways.
Yeah.
They were then put on the backs of Torontonians taxpayers, but over 50% of the people that go on those highways, they don't live in Toronto. And we're the only municipality that actually pays for highways. So what I'm saying is, well, let's be fair.
Yeah.
You can take responsibility over this, and we can take that money, invest it in the TTC, so that people come back to the TTC and we help with that budget issue. So you fix the services and you fix the budget. So that's how we need to work with these issues, is bringing pragmatic solutions, bringing, real solutions to the table to work with the other orders of government, because there's only one taxpayer, right?
And unfortunately, yeah, and I totally agree with what you're saying. Unfortunately, as a taxpayer, we are always held accountable because that's just the way it is. That's called life.
Yeah.
But in the other world, will you hold people who do not do their jobs accountable?
Absolutely.
And not give them a raise or a new position?
Accountability is one of the things that I want to bring to City Hall. Even, and as part of my housing plan, I've committed to having semi-annual reports, public reports. We need to make sure that there's accountability in what we're proposing as we run for mayor, but also all our heads of departments have accountability as well.
That's great.
And for me, that is something that it is really important. I will make sure that it happens at City Hall.
A couple more questions. I just want everybody to know that we are live on Facebook, so if you want to make a comment, ask a question, we'll be sure to get back to you. Again, we're here with Mayor candidate Anna
Bailao.
There you go. You say it better than me. So let's get a little bit personal now. So What is your family and friends? What's the response that they had when you said you're going to put your hat in a ring? Like, especially if you still have your mom and dad, or what do they say? Your friends, your kids?
I do. I have my mom and dad. They were very proud, but they were nervous.
Yeah.
They were nervous, right? They came to this country. They worked hard. My dad was a construction worker. He's now retired. My mom is a seamstress, and for some time had 2 jobs. They worked hard, and they're very proud to see me giving back to a city that gave them so much. But they're nervous as well, right? For them, this is, all the attention, the
you're
pressure.
in the spotlight now, right?
And they get very nervous. I think like any mother and father, but for them, I can see the nervous, but they've been very caring.
That's great.
Making sure that I have soup in the fridge every night. So that they're taking good care of me.
You got to have your energy. You got to have some gas in the tank.
Absolutely.
And how about your friends? And if you have any, I don't know if you have any kids or anything.
No, I don't have kids. I do have friends.
Yeah.
And friends with lots of kids.
Yeah.
They're excited.
Are they?
This is when you run for office, it's a family affair. It's a friends affair. You bring everybody, right?
Yeah.
You're always asking people to do something. Drop flyers, put up signs, make calls. You involve everybody, and I'm very lucky to have people that are very supportive and that believe in what I'm doing.
That's great. Well, I know it's such a big job, right? And I've interviewed Jennifer, right? She was a great interviewer. I interviewed her on the day John stepped down, because I was supposed to interview John that day, so I guess he got really scared of me and resigned or something. I don't know. But Jennifer,
I doubt that.
Jennifer
You're such a
was
nice
great.
guy.
Jennifer was great. So I really wish you all the best. If people want to find out more information, Anna, where could they go to find out more about you and how they can vote? Or
they can find more information at annabailao.ca, ANABAILAO.ca.
Well, that's great, and I really appreciate you being on the show today.
It was such a pleasure.
What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to come back and wrap the show. You're watching the Today Show Toronto. I'm Jay Stoyan. We'll be right back.
All about inclusion and really giving everyone a fair say.
Welcome to the Today Show. This is our flagship show. I am Unstoppable Tracy.
I am Zach Damon.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am excited. What is up?
We have a great show today.
Jay Stoyan here for the Disability Channel, the world's only inclusive channel for and by persons with disabilities.
Get ready to be inspired, everyone.
We have people watching from all over the world, but also all over Ontario.
We also take a concerted attention in the veterans community.
In moments of stress and trauma, we can get a hold of ourselves.
To help make a difference for people with disabilities, to show people how to love themselves or their disability.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me, giving this platform for myself and other people with disabilities.
Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this episode of the Disability Channel of Detroit. Please tune in next time.
Welcome back to the Today Show. I'm Jay Stoyan. What a show today. We were really lucky to have in our studio. We had mayor candidate Anna
Bailao.
There you go, Anna. I think we're a team now. I think we should do a comedy act
I think
here.
so too.
That's great. So again, if you want to hear more information or ask more questions for the candidates, you can go to our Facebook page. You can go to our website, www.thedisabilitychannel.ca. We're all about creating employment opportunities for persons with disabilities and veterans and able-bodied also, right? We don't discriminate against anybody. We're down here in Toronto, Witchwood Barns, Christine St. Clair. Come on down. We have a dog pad. We have a splash pad, fully accessible. And stay tuned as we're going to be interviewing more candidates on May 31st. So I really want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Anna for joining us today. I want to thank you guys for commenting. Again, you're watching the Today Show Toronto. I'm Jay Stoyan. We'll see you next time.